If you want to achieve your dream, you need to invest in yourself. What are you willing to invest in your growth? The right investments are going to save you time and energy and give you peace of mind. The title of today's conversation is 3 Growth Investments for High Achievers. Well, welcome back to the Dream Lifestyle Podcast, where we're here to do one thing, and that is to take one step towards our dream lifestyle. And so if you're new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button for 2 reasons. 1, so that way you can just stay up to date with all of our conversations throughout the month. And then 2, you can basically join this community of dreamers, visionary leaders, and high achievers who simply want to make an impact on their community as well as in culture. So I appreciate you for joining this community. I'm grateful to have you here today because we are talking about 3 growth investments for high achievers. Now, these 3 growth investments apply whether you are aspiring to be a high achiever, if you already consider yourself to be a high achiever, wherever you are, whatever level you're at, these 3 growth investments will help you get to your next, okay? They will help you get to your next. Now, I want to start with just 2 things right off the top so you can understand. Number 1, understand that when the investments that I'm talking about, I'm not talking about money. I know that when we use the word investment, our minds are just programmed to immediately go to, okay, how much is this going to cost? And when we think about this idea of investing in ourselves, that is a part of it, but it's not all of it. Meaning that you can invest in yourself without spending a single dime. And the 3 things that I'm going to be talking with you about today are not going to cost you a thing should you choose. So it's totally up to you. Now, when you do add money into your investments, it does accelerate the results, but it's not necessarily a requirement based on wherever you are at. So I don't want you to get turned off by this notion of a growth investment and think, oh, he's just going to ask me to spend money. No. Now, you should spend money on yourself because you are worth it, you are valuable, and you are worthy of it. But just when you think about what we're talking about today, the 3 growth investments, they are very practical and they apply to whatever level you are on. And should you want to supercharge those results, you can put money behind them. Okay, that's number 1. Second thing that I want us to understand when we are even approaching this topic of growth investments is the fact that in order for us to achieve whatever is on our heart to achieve, we have to get better. When you think about your dream lifestyle and all the things that you want to have, the way in which you want to live, the way in which you want to wake up, that does not happen if we do not get better. In order for you to have the house that you want to live in order for you to have the car you want to drive, in order for you to have the title by your name, whatever it is, whatever your goal is, you have to get better. Because the common denominator, I should say, between all those things is you. And the truth is, your success that you're looking for, the success that you're desiring, that you dream of, is not going to happen by chance. The success that you're looking for is not going to happen just by osmosis. It's not going to happen by wishful thinking. When you think about anything that you are looking to attain in this next season of your life, whatever your next is, it needs to be something that is done intentional, because growth is intentional. Because you can end up just doing a whole bunch of stuff with no intention and end up overwhelmed, stressed out, frustrated, trying to figure out what in the world is going on. Or you can be intentional with your investments and then find yourself growing in the right direction so that way your capacity is growing at the right rate, as well as you're able to properly manage all that's going on around you so you are getting better. So that way when you do achieve all that you're looking to achieve, you're able to properly manage it, which means you'll be able to properly keep it. And so when we think about just this concept of just growth investments that every high achiever needs to be making, these are important simply because you need to get better. Your personal growth is important. Okay. And so the 3 things I'm going to be sharing with you today are very practical, and they are things that you can implement in your life today. All right. So let's start with number 1. The first thing, all right, the first investment that you can make as a dreamer right now is systems and templates. Number 1, systems and templates. Now, what does this mean, right? To me, a system basically is a entity. It's a sum of parts that work all on their own. And just some easy examples of this would be your calendar. You could apply these types of systems and templates in your finances. You can even do it in your emails. And I use these examples just because these are things that you can do right now. Hey, I want to take a second and invite you to the Dreamer Symposium. This year's theme is Next Level living. And this is a 2-day growth conference for you to set big New Year's goals, for you to strategize for success, and for you to network with other like-minded dreamers. Listen, this is a conference that you do not want to miss. It's changed the lives of many, and I believe it can change yours as well. So be sure to go to dreamersymposium.com or to go in the description link below so that way you can claim your spot to go to the Dreamer Symposium. Whether you get a VIP ticket or a gold ticket, I just want you to do what you need to do for you to be in the room. It's happening on December 7th in Jackson, New Jersey, and it's going to be special. It's going to be life-changing, and I look forward to seeing you there. Now let's get back to the episode. As an example with your calendar, you can basically put your entire day and just already have it set in the settings for, if you work out at a certain time. Put that in your calendar and put it on repeat for however many times you need to go to the gym, right? You can put it in your calendar, meetings, consistent meetings that you may have, whatever it is. But your calendar is simply a space where you're able to always get an easy snapshot of this is what I'm doing every single day. An example in your finances might be if you're getting direct deposit. You can fill out on your direct deposit form percentages of what you want sent to certain accounts at certain times. So that way you don't even need to think about, okay, well, when I get paid, I have to manually transfer to this account or I have to manually Zelle to this account. But when you're intentional with building a system around your finances, you just know on the 1st and the 15th or whenever you get paid, hey, the money is going where it needs to go, and whatever I receive in my personal account to spend or whatever, I know it's going there without me having to do a thing. And again, the beauty behind these systems and templates is just the fact that you don't have to think about it. It does not take up brain space. You don't have to think about, okay, well, I have this bill due, so I also have to remember, I have to transfer the money over to that account, or, I have this expense coming up for my business. I need to make sure that the money is there. Like, when you have the proper systems in your finances, and this is very important because you need to figure out the money thing, you don't have to think about it. You just simply have peace of mind. You just know, okay, as long as I continue to do what I have to do to make the money, once the money enters my quote unquote ecosystem, it's doing what it needs to do, right? And the last one is just your emails. And this is more so a system with your templates, meaning that if there's a certain type of email that you send, and might more so apply to like my business owners and things like that. But if you know that you have a certain, you're sending out cold emails, well, go into the settings of your email and create a template for what a cold message looks like. Create a template for what sending a Zoom link would look like. Create a template for whatever type of email that you find yourself consistently making, and just create a template for it. Just take the 10 to 15 minutes and just write out, okay, here's the normal components of this email. Let me write it in there so that way when it is time to send that email, all it is, it's more of a click of a button than actually having to brainstorm, okay, I have to write this out and make sure I include this information, that information, this Zoom link, this date, this topic, right? You can basically create a system and a template around it. And the same is true, just to give another example with templates, is if you're a content creator, you should be templating all of your posts. Like everything that you see on this podcast, it's templated from the thumbnails to the clips I post. Everything. It's a template. Even with graphics for the upcoming symposium, it's all templated simply because it saves me time. And I basically make sure I set things in a way where it's a set it and forget it. It is a thing that I do once and it serves me for eternity. And that is simply the power of systems and automation. And the reason why this is a good investment for you is because it's going to save you time. It's going to save you energy. And it's going to make you efficient. It's going to make you efficient in any realm, whether it's in a personal space, when you think about your health or your finances, whatever it is. It's going to save you time and energy, make you efficient when you think about your job, whatever job it is. You have the ability to set up some sort of system, some sort of template to whatever applies to your context, so that way you can have peace of mind when you think about being productive, so you can step into your next. Okay, so number one, the first growth investment is systems and templates. All right. The second the second growth investment that you need to be investing in yourself so that way you grow is books. Number two, you need books. And the reason why you need to be investing in books is because leaders need to read. Now, I know a lot of the times the saying is, leaders are readers. I will remix that and simply say, leaders need to read, because there's so much information in books that solves specific problems. There's so much information in books that will simply just give you more information that will help you get to your next, that it does not make sense to allow that plethora of information just sit on a shelf, sit at the bookstore, and you never just take the time to read it because you're stressing about how to properly budget, or you're stressing about how to properly market your business. You're stressing about this and that, when you can easily just take the time, discipline yourself to say, you know what, I'm going to read 10 pages a night. I'm going to read a chapter every other day. I'm going to read 2 pages basically just saying, okay, I'm going to invest in books so that way I can get the information I need so I can step into my next efficiently and with peace of mind. And it's awesome because books have the information that you need. And that is what it looks like practically to invest in yourself. Now, you might say, well, Trevon, I don't feel like buying a book. Well, borrow a book. There are plenty of people that I'm certain that are around you that are already in a good rhythm with reading books. And I would even go as far to say, right now, with where you're at, especially if you're listening to this podcast, you do not need to be reading like fiction books. You need to be reading books that actually apply to your context, your real everyday life, that's going to help you, whether it's climb the corporate ladder, whether it's help you start investing in companies, whether it's going to help you start investing in real estate, building a business, whatever. You need to be making sure that you're reading books that actually apply to your life. So that way, after every chapter, after every book you finish, you know, this is what I'm going to do as a result of getting the information. Okay. So number 2, you need to invest in books because leaders need to read. Okay. And the last growth investment is conferences. It's conferences. And, conferences, I could go on for such a long time just describing why each and every one of us as dreamers, as leaders, need conferences. But the reality is, at conferences, number 1, it's an amazing networking opportunity. You're going to be meeting people that might be in a totally different location than yours. You might be meeting people with totally different backgrounds. You might even meet people that are in your exact same space, but you actually get to connect with these other people and just get to know them. You get to know their story. You get to hear about their goals. And on top of that, because based on whatever the conference may be about, you get a little bit of added context as to what they're trying to gain. You get a little bit of added context about, just where they're at in their journey, and that can help you in yours because you're building a relationship. Now, that's just, the conference from the perspective of just who's going with you. But when you do go to a conference, and I understand there are good conferences and there are not so great conferences, but there are conferences that you can go to, because I'm a firm believer that you never lose when you invest in yourself by going to a conference. And there are free conferences. So again, this is not about money. It's about simply making the time to go to a conference. But when you go to a conference, you're going to be hearing from experts. You're going to be hearing from people who have been where you are, figured it out, and now they're 5 steps ahead of you. They're $5 million ahead of you. They are simply further ahead of you, and they are going to be sharing some sort of nugget that you can take and apply to your current every single day, so that way you can do what you have to do to step into your next. And that's simply the power of going to conferences and events. I'll tell you guys a personal story. For those of you that might not know, I do serve in church. I serve at Hope Cathedral underneath my father's leadership, and I love it. It's amazing. And in my position, one of the newer things that I've been doing is leading our worship team and media department, as well as some other teams and things like that at the church. And I remember this might have been maybe 2 or 3 months ago, being in a space where I just felt like I was failing left and right. I just felt like nothing was going right, that I was, doing my very best and, the whole nine. It just felt like the results were not in my favor. And I was pretty defeated. Like, I was just like, all right, I'm gonna keep trying. Like, I'm not going to quit, but man, it's just like one loss, one bad thing after another just kept happening. And I remember I decided to go to GLS, which is the biggest leadership conference in the world, the Global Leadership Summit. And I remember going to the GLS, and it gave me such inspiration, and it empowered me to just change how I viewed my situation in my leadership. Now, that isn't to say like I was doing a poor job in leadership. I'm just telling you that I felt drained. I felt like I was failing at every step. I felt like, man, am I cut out for this? So all the negative thoughts, the imposter syndrome, the whole nine. But when I went to this conference, it confirmed to me that the way I'm feeling is normal, But more than that, not only is it normal, I can get out of it. Not only is it normal, but I can do something about it and I can improve the situation. And so as I heard from amazing leaders, I heard from phenomenal leaders and communicators just about, what it means to lead, how to lead, being obsessed, communicating and the whole nine. It was incredible. And I just remember leaving that conference with a renewed sense of energy. I remember leaving that conference with a renewed sense of confidence that I could do this. And, I hit the ground running. I left, I usually, after I go to a conference, I will, just kind of write down things that, okay, here's what I'm going to do as a result of hearing all this, right? I'll usually latch on to one speaker and really figure, okay, what's like an action step from each speaker and just from the conference overall, what's the main thing? And once I got home from the conference, I went to work and I was just energized. And, I'm sharing my personal example, but it was because I went to a conference that now all the areas that, I felt like I was failing in, I'm starting to see improvements. I'm starting to see success. I'm starting to see growth in all the very same things that would stress me out, all the same things that I felt down on myself about. And it's simply because I decided to invest in myself by going to a conference. And so, I share that story with you because you may be feeling down. You may be feeling like you're failing right now. You may be feeling like you're behind. You may be feeling like there should be more happening. There should be more motion and all of that. But I'm telling you that when you invest in yourself in any of these three things that I talked about, whether it's your calendar, whether it's your systems and your templates, whether it is, books that you're reading, or if it is just going to conferences and just being in the right room, I'm telling you that you can step into your next. You don't have to stay there. And so I pray that this conversation was helpful to you. I pray that it encourages you to really do something about it. We're at the tail end of the year where, there's some people who might feel drained. They might feel like, the road has been long because it kind of has been a long year. But I want to encourage you to take one type of practical action step as a result of listening to this. One step of thinking about, what system or template can I implement in my own life that I can invest in myself so that way I become more efficient, I become more effective, so that way I can have peace of mind. Whether that's, again, trying to think through, okay, what books can I invest in myself that I can read? And then lastly, just what conferences can I go to? These are very simple things that you can do right now, and they don't even require money. Okay, so just as a quick recap, I know I recapped it again, but again, I want you guys to get this. Okay, 3 growth investments that you can make right now to step into your next. Number 1, systems and templates. All right, you want to be able to be intentional with a few things so that way it serves you for an eternity. Systems and templates. 2, books. You need to read books because leaders need to read. All right, you need to read books because it has some information that you need that you can apply to your context. And then lastly, conferences. All right, conferences. You're going to be networking with like-minded individuals. You're going to be getting information from experts, and it simply will empower you to execute. Okay, it will empower you to execute. All right, so those are the 3 things: systems and templates, books, and conferences. And so, with that being said, I have a new resource. It's a free resource that I believe is going to help you as we enter into this last quarter of the year, and it is a end-of-year audit. Okay, it's an end-of-year audit. And so in the description below, you can pick that up. It's totally free, and it's basically 5 reflection questions so that way you can really get a gauge of how did this year actually go. So often a lot of us have recency bias when it comes to how we reflect on our year. And it's very important that we do take the time and invest in ourselves in order to really just get a clear picture as to, okay, how was this year actually for me? And so there are 5 questions that are there that'll really help you assess and reflect on how this year was for you. So I invite you to download that free resource in the description link below. It's there whether you're watching me or listening to me on a podcast platform. I appreciate it. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to share this episode with someone. Share this with someone that wants to invest in themselves, someone that wants to step into their next and wants to grow and really achieve their vision, who really wants to take that one step towards their dream lifestyle. So I invite you to do that. And so as you prepare for next week's conversation, I encourage you to go check out last week's conversation. And always remember, anything is possible when you lead yourself well.